let a honeybee sail on now.
Hello everyone, Davey Simpson with the Surrey County Beekeepers. Today we're doing in-hive inspections, and also we're getting mite samples. So we've already went through several of these hives, and the hives that we did not add a sacket box to last time, all except one will need an additional deep on it this time. So we're going to go through this hive and we'll show you how we collect a half a cup of bees to do a mite sample. We're looking to see how much drone comb they have in the top box. And they've come up and added drone 2 frames to that deep. So 2. Yeah. We've got larvae all the way out both sides of the outside frame with honey around it. What we're doing is we're looking for the queen so we don't get her in our sample that we take. This is a pretty good pattern. The honey's down a little bit further than I would like to see, but she's laying from edge to edge. That's a little better there, just honey in corners. I got eggs. We've got larvae, so brood of all ages. And there's a queen right here, and I'll hand that off to Eugene. And what we like to do is find a good frame that's got open brood on it, and this one does. And we have our container here that we just shake the bees down in. And that's a half a cup measuring cup, approximately 300 bees. Overall, this hive looks very well. So what we're doing is when we take a half cup sample, we're putting them in a 1 quart Ziploc bag. We write the hive number on it, and I will take these back home and put them in the freezer, and then we will do an alcohol wash on the bees. The alcohol wash does kill the bees, but it's a much what's the word I'm looking for?
More accurate.
It is a more accurate way of testing your bees. We also have another method here that we'll use on this next hive, which is CO2. We'll show you how to do that. Okay, so we're into this hive, and we're just looking to see how many drone frames they've got, and I'm getting into drone frames there. And here's drone, and I'll just show you what it looks like. There, and it's got nectar down in it, front and back. So that's 1, 2. They've drawn 2 frames out in the top box. Less than 2%. We're just trying to do a really quick inspection on these, just to make sure that the queen is in here, she's laying, find her, get our samples, and then get back out. We're right in the middle of our honey flow, so the less that we can disturb the bees, the better off we are. Larvae of all ages. Another way you can test for mites is you can open up drone brood and look for mites on drone brood. The varroa mite is attracted to the drone cells due to the extra time that it takes for a drone to hatch out. Well, it appears we have missed her somewhere. Okay, Chad. Make sure she's not on that frame I set out.
Do not see her on this one.
Here she is. Sorry, put it back. Sometimes it takes a little longer than others to find the queen. Hang on before you do that other. So we've got our sample here for an acid or alcohol wash. This is CO2. Same amount of bees, half a cup of bees, which is approximately 300 bees. They go down into the container. And then you have a CO2 gun. But you're going to give them about 4 to 6 sackets of CO2. And then you let it sit for 10 to 20 seconds. And all the bees have already what would you call it?
Anesthesiated.
Yeah, they're knocked out. And then you shake it for approximately 10 seconds. And there's a screen in this, and the mites that are in fall down to the bottom while the bees are up at the top. And you can pull this off and see if you've got any mites. I don't see a mite one. And then the bees, you can pour them back out. And they will actually come back. Let's do something. So now that we've got our samples, we can move inside, and you can actually do these tests anytime that you'd like. You can take these samples that you take out of the bee yard and put them in the freezer, and you can actually run the test anytime you'd like. You just pull them out of the freezer and go through the sequence that we're fixing to go through, and these samples will last for however long you want them to, as long as they're in the freezer. The things you'll need is washer fluid. It needs to be at least -20 washer fluid. This has alcohol or methanol or something in it to keep it from freezing. So it's the same thing as using an alcohol for an alcohol wash. I use a quart wide mouth mason jar, a flour sift. I've got, these are paint strainers that you can pick up at Lowe's. You can get 2 in a pack for $3 or $4. Very inexpensive. A deep pot, and then I have a colander here with another paint strainer over it for rinsing the bees, with another paint strainer over it. The reason why we use two is when you pour your sample out, you can actually collect your washer fluid and you can reuse it, and then you can rinse over here and the water will go down the sink. One of the biggest reasons why I like doing this method versus doing it in the bee yard, I'm in my house, it's cool, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, I can do these samples when it fits my schedule, and it gets us out of the apiary. Not necessarily gets us out of the apiary, but we can do more things in the apiary versus sitting there taking sample after sample after sample and actually doing it there. So it saves us time, and we can do other things other than doing the samples in the apiary. So to get started, I label all my bags with a Sharpie so I know exactly what hive this come out of. Take your washer fluid. You can dump this into your mason jar just like it is, but I have found if you pour the washer fluid in your bag, it floats the bees and they come out much easier. When you get your bees out, you want to look in your bag and make sure you've not left any mites in. Lid on your jar, shake 15-30 seconds. I did pull these samples out of the freezer about an hour ago, so they've been thawing here on the counter for about an hour. Then we'll let it sit for 5-10 seconds and we'll shake again and then pour into the flour sift. The mites are small enough to get through the flour sift, but too big to get through the paint strainer. And once we get all the washer fluid off of them, we come over and rinse with hot water. Just for a few seconds. There was no mites over here on the first station, and we've got some legs. And sometimes I gotta put my glasses on. No mites on the second one, so that was a mite-free sample. What did I do with my bag? There it is. Then when you're done, you can either toss this out, or what we will do is put these back in the freezer, and we'll come back and actually randomly pick some samples to count. I've already counted one. There was 364 bees in a sample, but we want to make sure that we're getting at least a 300 bee sample, so we will know where we're at percentage wise. No mites in the bag. I've done a lot of sugar shakes. I like this method much better. It's a more accurate way of testing for mites. Plus the added benefit of getting out of the apiary and into the cool is a really big benefit for me. You can concentrate more on what you're doing in here versus out in the apiary where you have bees flying all over the place. You're trying to keep them out of your water. This is a much better method. You do lose about 300 bees per hive, but if you think about it, queens laying around 1,200 eggs a day, so you're only taking 1/4 of one day of laying away from that hive. I use the colander over here so I don't have to continuously empty my pot. The water just goes down the sink. And that was another mite-free sample. Well, I don't know why I'm zipping that back up. We installed these packages on April the 2nd, and within 10 days we done a oxalic acid vaporization. So we were treating a broodless hive essentially. If there was any brood in there, it was all open. So we're finding that that treatment was very successful. With this sample here, we're approaching about 30 samples tested, and out of 30 we've only found 3 mites. So our oxalic acid treatment was very successful. Well, And another mite-free sample. I would like to thank Lewis Cobble with the North Carolina Apiary Inspection. He is actually the one that showed me this method, and it has shown to be very beneficial to us, so I'd like to give him a shout out and tell him thank you. Sit for a few minutes and then shake it. And that was another mite-free sample. Now, when we say a mite-free sample, that just means in the 300 plus bees that we've sampled, there was no mites. We are not, we know that there are mites in these colonies. The only thing that we're confirming is that we do have a very low percentage of mites. We're trying to keep the mite load 1% or less. So by taking these samples, we have confirmed that we do have way less than a 1% mite load. And once we start going north of that 1%, we will put together a treatment regimen for the hives, depending on what time of the year that we go north of that 1%. So I don't want anybody to think that we are having mite-free colonies. I don't know if there is such a thing. We're not under the illusion that we do. We know there's mites there. We've just proven that the mite load is very low. So, okay, so we are finished up with our treatment, and I was working on the last sample, and I did find one mite, and I would like to show you guys. I caught it in my rinse, the rinse side, and the mite is right there. If I can get it into focus, there it is. One mite in about a sample of 10. So that's what we were averaging, about one mite for every 10 samples we were taking. And you also get legs and other stuff in your samples. But the mites kind of stand out because they're reddish in color, and they've got a little bit of a triangle shape to them. So just in comparison, there's my finger, and that's how big or how small the mite is. So that would be a good size comparison there. So if you like these videos, please subscribe to our channel. Click the share button and the notification icon, and you can get notifications every time that we share a video. And as always, happy beekeeping.